This is perhaps the last time you'll see me with this hairstyle in a while, because I am getting my hair cut tomorrow and I'm planning on cutting it shorter, possibly number one on the sides and the back, possibly not much more than 1.5 inches on top, because right now it's about 2.5, 3 inches long. I want to cut it shorter because this 6-month campaign is almost up. At the end of end of June 25th, it'll be 6 months that I've been doing the argan oil and the rosemary oil and all that stuff. So I think with my hair being cut shorter, it's going to really expose whether or not we all believe that this has actually had a positive effect on my hair. So that's bonus material. Let's get to the comment which propels this video forward today. I made a video recently called "Hair Loss is Not a Disease. Are You a Bearded One?" And our good friend Maxwell Smart, who was born Canadian, raised Canadian, then he ended up mysteriously in Europe. We're not really sure what country. I think he's living undercover. We know he's a barber. We know he's about 2 decades older than me, but yet he also has a Norwood 3 without the thinning. So that's what we know about our mysterious friend, and he's very helpful to the channel here and in moving the conversation forward about hair loss. So Maxwell Smart had this to say, quote, "I agree with you too. Hair loss, specifically male pattern baldness, is a genetic disorder. There are other forms that are diseases. Those are ones that can be treated to some extent." End quote. That's all he said, and that's all he needed to say. And I'm glad to see that people are already instantly agreeing with me that this is not a disease. This hair loss thing is not a disease. Let's process that. Let's all chant that together. Hair loss is not a disease. Hair loss is not a disease. Right? That's what we need to do. We need to say that out loud so that our brain says, "Oh yeah." Because sometimes you have to say things out loud, because like the hair loss bully in the mirror. Have you seen that video? That person is constantly giving you a negative news feed. So sometimes you, the conscious person, has to say things out loud to overwrite the voices in your head that you see every time you look in the mirror. So it's not a disease. Hair loss is not a disease. Because if it were, watch out for this logic, here it comes. If it were a disease, then we would be in search of a cure for the disease. Because that's what we do when we have diseases. We try to find some kind of cure for it. Even like with my eczema that I had, dyshidrosis. I had it for years. I don't anymore. Now medically there wasn't a cure, but me becoming a vegan actually eliminated my dyshidrosis and eczema. So I no longer have to deal with that. I no longer have to deal with my constant sinusitis. That went away too when I became a vegan. So even if there wasn't a medical cure, I was able to find a cure for that, because ultimately it was a disease. If there's a disease, usually we can try to find some way to cure it. But if it's not a disease, then are we really looking for a cure? Now, I have to also give credit to another faithful watcher who I call Green Parrot. He's Hebrew but lives in Poland, from what I can understand. And he has a little green parrot as his little avatar icon there. And he had mentioned a month or so ago, he knew that I liked Metallica, and he mentioned a song by Metallica called Cure. And this lines up perfectly with today's topic. I wrote down part of the chorus of this song by Metallica from their 1996 album Load. The song is called Cure. And it says this, quote, "Betting on the cure, because it must get better than this. Everyone's got to have the sickness, because everyone seems to need the cure." I got to say that one more time. Let's let this process in. Betting on the cure, because it must get better than this. Everyone's got to have the sickness, because everyone seems to need the cure. If it is a disease, then we can find a cure for it, right? But what's interesting is so many men suffer from hair loss. So if it is a disease, it'd be quite an epidemic, wouldn't it? And I think maybe we need to look at it that way. That instead of looking at it as a disease, we can look at it maybe at best as an epidemic, in which it forces us to make a decision if we're going to move forward with our life and accept it, or find some way to stop it or slow it down. It puts us in that position, and that's what washes a lot of people on the shore of my channel. They wash up on shore, and am I losing my hair? I am losing my hair. What do I do about it? But they don't make a move, so then they just freak out and get depressed and anxious and all that stuff. So it is interesting to me though, because what other things in life are we like this? That we have something that's not actually a disease, but we're looking for a cure for it. I mean, there are lots of things, and I think this is often, I think that women deal with things like that, they want to cure something that's not a disease to begin with. And then you know how I am. Fundamentally, I believe that you're born one way or the other. I believe you're either going to be a bearded one who is shaving by the time he graduates high school, full beard, and who is going to lose his hair sooner, or you're not. You're the guy that can't grow a beard until after you graduate. And then, yeah, you can grow a beard later maybe, but you're the guy who doesn't have to worry about hair loss. And these show up, these signs show up when you're 1 year old. You can look at your hair. You can see a consistent pattern there. Now, it's not 100%, but I just believe that some of us were selected to be this kind of person. It's just like for this. For example, I'm really good at communicating. No one would argue that. I'm good at communicating. I graduated with an English degree. That's my thing. That's what comes easy for me. I'm the go-to guy for that. What I'm not the go-to guy for? Math. I'm horrible at math. I don't like math. I never did. It does not interest me. But I understand that while I am intelligent in one way, I'm not intelligent in most of the other ways. To me, it's that simple. If you're going to be losing your hair, you're maybe not so good at keeping your hair, but you are good at growing a beard, and you are good by default at having confidence despite having the hair. Maybe balding guys or bald guys, a lot of times maybe have more confidence because they're not relying on their looks, they're not relying on their hair, something they can't control to begin with. And of course, I would suggest to you, if you are indeed looking for a cure for hair loss, which there's not one, that would be the cure. You can only psychologically, internally cure yourself of it by coming to this realization that if you're not going to do something to stop it, like hair transplant or Propecia or tattoo pigment, or all the above, oil, whatever you want to do. If you're not going to do those things, then you accept it and you move on. That's the cure. It always will be. In our lifetime and in our grandkids' lifetime, they're not going to find a cure because you're fundamentally born a bearded one or not. That's what Nick Shell has to say. It's not popular. It's not what anybody wants to hear. But it's what I believe is truth. But we all agree now, hair loss is not a disease. If it's not a disease, tell me why would we look for a cure? Just like Metallica already said 2 decades ago.